Morning everyone, hope you're all well. So I've been out cutting with my 268 XP, which is an absolute annihilator. My goodness me, it's a devourer of wood, spectacular. But I had a couple of interesting questions from people in America, when obviously they've seen the wood that I cut, and I've had a few people say, how much wood are you burning in a year then? And that's a really interesting question, because if you've never had a log fire, it's staggering how much wood you can get through in 1 year. So there are some statistics from some Canadian log burning sites and arbor sites, and they say that typically a 1,000 square foot floor planned house will use up to 3 cords of wood in a year. So the cord is the American measurement for wood, so which gives you a 4x4 base and 8 foot tall, so basically 128 cubic feet. So that's for a typical season's use without using any gas on top of that. You'll get through typically 3 cords of wood. You think, okay, all right, that's for 1,000 cubic feet. So I'm going to pan and show you the size of my log store, and then I'll tell you some interesting stats about those numbers. So, in fact, let me take the camera off and I'll put it back in a minute. So I haven't finished processing the wood this year yet, but I'm mostly done. So I have a mix of, there's larch, silver birch, some pine or fir, there's some willow, there's a good quantity of oak, and a good quantity of ash, and all the way to the front this side where it kind of tapers off. So size wise, this log store is almost 7 foot deep. It's about 6'10" front to back, and is approximately, because it goes slightly downhill the driveway here, it's approximately 5 foot. If I took that as an average, it's about 6.5 foot at the back and about 5 foot, 4.5 feet at the front. So if I said it's an average of 5 feet, so you multiply the numbers, you get 6 foot times 5 foot gives you a square area of 30, and the log store itself is about 29 feet, but it's got a slight taper at the back. So if I rounded it down to 25 feet, because I have a slight taper here at this side, if I multiplied the 25 by my 30, that gives me a total of 750 cubic feet of wood. Put the camera back, which seems like a colossal amount of wood. So 750 cubic feet, and a cord is 128, so just under, or give or take, six cords of wood in American size. So the house I'm living in has a floor plan, I think, of approximately 140 square meters, and 1 square meter is it's just under 11 square feet. So I think it's 10.7 something. So you multiply 140 by 11, so 1,540 cubic feet. So using those figures from this Canadian reference site, you'd be using approximately 4.5 cords of wood. Okay, so fully populated and split using seasoned dry wood, I should have hopefully 6 cords. I have a cord and a half in hand, and we tend to use, so we have 3 Jodel, Norwegian, Scandinavian cast iron stoves, spectacular stoves, and so if we keep 2 of them running to spread the load without using any gas, I'm thinking we'll probably have 1 entire season's use here. So some people find that hard to believe, that you could burn this much wood in 1 season. And also another staggering fact is that typically 1 cord of wood, if it's mixed hardwood with softwood, 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot, the typical weight for that is £5,000, can you believe? And so 1 metric ton is 1,000 kilos, so £2,240, give or take. 2 tons gives you 4,480, so then £5,000. So 2¼ tons of wood for 1 cord, and a typical household, 1,000 square feet or 90 square meters, is going to use 3 of those. You think, wow, so for a standard 90 square meter house, if you wanted to have all the heating done by wood, you're going to be having to get through give or take nearly 7 tons of wood in one season. So unless you've got a supply of wood, it's certainly not a cost-saving option unless you can get hold of wood. Of course, those figures are different if you subsidize that and you offset the heating with your gas, but if you're just going to rely upon wood, you're going to need a very, very big wood store. And so this is going to be the first year I've actually measured it accurately. I'll stack it all, and I'll do an update as well as I finish it off completely, left to right, and I can quantify actually how much on a 140 square meter house we get through in one season of really nice quality, really nicely seasoned wood. The stuff in the rack at the back has been seasoning for just over a year, about a year, and because it's been split quickly or early while it's still green, when it's in split form it seasons massively quick, and we've had a baking hot summer, and so I've burnt some of the wood and it is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And so of course if you start burning green wood or wood which is a little bit more higher moisture content, you're going to burn even more because it just doesn't give off the heat, doesn't burn as efficiently, gives you more likelihood of blocking or fouling your chimney or your flue. So it's really good to use fully seasoned wood. Okay, so it's just an insight, I guess, and answering hopefully a couple of questions which people have asked. How much wood I have, how much do we get through, and I'm hoping this year to put a more definitive number on it. So basically if I burn this entire log store this winter, we will have burnt, if those figures are approximate for the weight, and we get through 6 cords, that will have meant we will have burnt 15 tons of wood on one household. That's a staggering number. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and if any of you got any other insight, any of you that have actually recorded your wood consumption and what size your house is, I'd love to hear it, because it's a really interesting fact. And not to sound too nerdy also, but if you go on to any of the more quality based stove manufacturer sites, and Jotl are spectacular. If you've never seen the Norwegian Jotl stoves, they're sublime in their construction. But what's interesting is the technical references they give as to how much wood you'll burn just running one single fire, and you'll have an average kilogram weight of usage for each individual fire that you can look at buying from them. And so you can even think, well, to run a fire, if I'm running one fire for 40 consecutive nights through the winter, you can think, okay, I'm going to burn, if it's 15 kilos in the evening, I'm going to burn 600 kilos. So then you know that if you have 2 and, what did we say the number was, 2¼ tons in 1 cord, you know that's 1/4 of a cord to run that fire for 40 nights. So it's really interesting. You can actually start to gauge how much you're going to burn. Guys, thanks for watching. I shall rig up some wood and I'm going to show the 268 annihilating things. Bye for now.